The year is 1866. America is bleeding from a war that nearly destroyed it. 4 million people have just tasted freedom for the first time in their lives. But freedom is just a word on paper. Then something happens that will terrify white America for generations to come. Congress authorizes the creation of 6 all-black Army regiments, armed, trained, federally backed soldiers. These men are about to become legends. They will be called the Buffalo Soldiers. The Plains tribes watched these black cavalrymen ride into the frontier. They saw something in them, something fierce, something unstoppable. The buffalo was sacred to these tribes, powerful, nearly impossible to kill. So they gave these soldiers a name that carried the weight of respect: Buffalo Soldiers. Warriors as relentless as the great beasts that roamed their lands. This wasn't just a nickname, it was an acknowledgement. Even their enemies recognized something extraordinary. For black men emerging from the nightmare of slavery, military service was like winning the lottery in hell. $13 a month, real money when most black folks earned pennies scraping by. 3 meals a day, a roof overhead. But more than any of that, respect. The uniform carried weight that white America couldn't stomach. These weren't just jobs. They were pathways to dignity in a nation that had spent centuries denying black people their humanity. For the first time, black men could walk armed, protected by federal authority, unable to be dismissed or ignored. White officers quit rather than serve alongside these men. Some took demotions, actual demotions, just to avoid commanding black troops. George Armstrong Custer himself refused to lead black soldiers, even when it cost him promotion. The Army's response was calculated and cruel. They sent these regiments to the most dangerous, isolated, God-forsaken posts on the frontier, places where survival wasn't guaranteed and help was days away. They gave them trash, leftover Civil War gear falling apart at the seams, broken down horses, saddles that barely fit. The message was crystal clear: we'll let you try, but we'll make damn sure you fail. These soldiers faced a choice: prove the racists right, or do something revolutionary. They chose excellence. Lower desertion rates than white troops, lower court-martial rates, 18 medals of honor, America's highest military honor awarded to men society claimed weren't fully human. They protected mail routes everyone else said were impossible. Built roads, escorted settlers, fought off raiders. They succeeded where white regiments failed or refused to try. Every victory was more than professional achievement. It was revolution. Every time they succeeded where others failed, they shattered another piece of the mythology that justified their oppression. Here's something they don't teach in schools. Buffalo Soldiers became America's first national park rangers. At Yosemite, Sequoia, and what's now Kings Canyon, these men built trails, fought wildfires, stopped poachers, and protected the wilderness. Captain Charles Young became the first black superintendent of a national park, so competent that even racist America couldn't deny his brilliance. They weren't just soldiers anymore. They were stewards of America's natural treasures before the National Park Service even existed. They were symbols, proof that black excellence couldn't be contained, couldn't be hidden, couldn't be denied. And that's exactly what made them dangerous. August 1906, Brownsville, Texas. Black soldiers from the 25th Infantry are stationed at Fort Brown, and the white townspeople are furious about disciplined, armed black men in their midst. One night, shots ring out. One white man dies, another is wounded. Immediately, without investigation, without evidence, without trial, the white town blames the black soldiers. President Theodore Roosevelt, champion of American values, dishonorably discharges 167 black soldiers overnight. No trial, no evidence. No justice, men with 20 years of service, men with medals for bravery, all destroyed by presidential racism with a stroke of the pen. The message echoed across black America. No matter how well you serve, how bravely you fight, you're still black first. And that makes you guilty. Enter Charles Young, only the 3rd black graduate of West Point. From day one, he was marked as dangerous. Not because he was violent, but because he was brilliant. He spoke multiple languages. He led with distinction everywhere they sent him. He advocated for his black troops and refused to bow to white supremacist expectations. When World War I erupted, Young was in line to become the highest-ranking black officer in American history, potentially commanding white troops. White America lost its mind. They forced him into retirement on fake medical claims. High blood pressure, they said. Unfit to serve, they claimed. You know what Charles Young did? Charles Young, at 55 years old, rode his horse 500 miles from Ohio to Washington, D.C. 500 miles on horseback, to prove he was physically fit. The black press covered every mile. The NAACP rallied support. Black communities across the nation understood what was happening. This wasn't about blood pressure. This was about making absolutely sure no black man ever got too much power in the American military. They would rather weaken their own army than let a black man command white soldiers. Young's protest became more than one man's fight. It became a symbol of resistance that echoed across a nation. Buffalo soldiers became living symbols. When they rode into a town, black folks saw possibility, what they could become. Disciplined, respected, armed, unafraid. White racists saw their worst nightmare, black men with power who couldn't be lynched or intimidated. Records show black communities writing to the War Department, begging for Buffalo soldiers to be stationed nearby. They knew these men would protect them when no one else would. But the uniform carried a darker weight too, one that would test these soldiers' souls in ways they never imagined. The same government that betrayed Buffalo soldiers at home sent them to enforce American imperialism abroad. The Philippines dot the western frontier. They found themselves suppressing Filipino independence, fighting against indigenous peoples defending their ancestral lands. Buffalo soldiers, men who knew oppression intimately, were being used as tools of someone else's oppression. It's how systems of power work. They'll use one marginalized group to control another. But here's what's remarkable. Some recognized the contradiction. More black soldiers deserted to join Filipino rebels than from any other American units. Even when used as instruments of empire, some chose resistance over complicity. Despite the betrayals, the contradictions, the systematic racism, Buffalo soldiers carved out space for black excellence inside a system designed to destroy them. Every promotion, every medal, every act of courage, each one was a crack in the wall of white supremacy. They proved that excellence could be a form of resistance. That dignity couldn't be taken away, only given up. That armed, disciplined black men weren't threats to democracy. They were democracy's greatest defenders. These men didn't just wear the uniform, they redefined what it meant to be an American soldier. They served a country that hated them, fought enemies foreign and domestic, including the racism within their own ranks. Their legacy became proof that black Americans could serve with distinction while simultaneously fighting the very system that oppressed them. They laid the groundwork for military integration, for civil rights progress, for every black person who would wear the uniform after them. The Buffalo soldiers scared racist America, not because they were violent, but because they showed what black people could accomplish when given half a chance. Armed, disciplined, unbreakable, proud, their service proved that black excellence couldn't be denied, no matter how hard white supremacy tried to suppress it. They fought every enemy America sent them against, and the enemy America refused to admit existed, racism itself. So the next time someone tries to tell you that black people didn't contribute to American history, remind them about the Buffalo soldiers, men who turned oppression into opportunity, uniforms into weapons of resistance, fear into respect. They were warriors who terrified white America simply by refusing to be anything less than excellent. And in doing so, they changed what it meant to be both black and American forever.